how this thing works. The wine from the blending tank is pumped through the series of filters to eliminate any microbes that may have still survived all these processes, right? And we don't want any of these microbes here in the bottle because they may decide again to have a party here after bottling, and then when you open the bottle, you may discover that the party produced some flavors that you don't care to have in your glass. So we filter the wine. Some wines, occasionally, long-aged wines, like long-aged in barrel red wines, full-body red wines, we would bottle directly without filtration, because over this time that the wine was aging, most of these microbes were dead, were eliminated by natural processes there. Therefore, bottling directly is, again, something we can do that allows us to maintain the high complexity of the wine, because any filtration, any processing of the wine before bottling will remove some of the flavors and aromas that we want to keep. So the fewer steps are in between, fermentation and bottling, the more complex and more intense flavors and aromas in the wine. So from the blending tank through the filters to this machine, which is called the bottle filler, the wine is pumped into this reservoir. Of course, it's an automatic on and off depending where the level is. We don't do it manually. The machine turns off the pump and on depending where the wine is. The upper portion, this reservoir, together with the spouts, rotates like merry-go-round. Person operating this machine from this side puts an empty bottle just like this, moving the spout up, opens up the flow, starts the flow, gravity flow. It's a gravity, pushing and shoving of the wine. That again assures better quality than when you have machines, big bottling lines where they push and in order to speed up the process. By the time this bottle travels around to this point, it's full. There is a mechanism in the spout that stops the flow at a certain level. And that level in this particular bottle will be 750 milliliters, the size of this bottle. The person operating the corker takes the bottle from, now full of wine, right, from the bottling machine, puts it on this corker. This is a corking machine, and with this little step here, that machine, the cork is pushed in, right? Because the cork is larger diameter than the neck, so it has to be squeezed by the jaws that are inside of this machine, and then the plunger pushes it in. The whistling noise that you heard is the sound of the vacuum pump. That just before the cork is pushed into the neck, the vacuum pump removes the air, or as much as possible, from the neck of the bottle from above the wine. The less air, or therefore less oxygen, trapped in the bottle makes the wine last longer, develop better in the wine. There is no danger of fast oxidation, which is the most devastating thing that happens to wines that we store and are not protected from access of oxygen. And after basically, right now the bottle is ready for whatever. It can be labeled and capsuled immediately, it can be later, but it's already a safe, ready to be stored product. Our next step in our bottling sequence is applying a capsule. It's purely decoration, but also shows you when you shop for wine, when you take a bottle from a shelf, you look at the capsule and see whether somebody didn't taper with it, right? So it's kind of protective. Also a safety component of it. And with this little machine that has little rollers around, by pushing this lever down, you spin that capsule down, that now is nice and tightened and impossible to remove by hand. You have to cut it in order to open it up or poke it, right? So these are the capsules, these are the corks. Of course, talking about corks is another subject that I'm not going to go into because you want to continue your tasting or start your tasting instead of listening to me. But it's a very interesting topic, and we can talk about this later. And the last step of the bottling process is applying a label. And we have this little small automatic labeling machine that when you put the bottle in this position and push it in, the label that will be applied around, because this label was set up for a different bottle. You can see the spacing is not the same and the level is not the same. It was meant for a Viognier bottle in Burgundy bottle, which is this rounder and thicker bottle than this. But that gives you an idea of how this works. The sensor senses, and it's basically how much space is when the bottle rolls between front and back label, and applies the back label when it's time to do so. So they both symmetrically on the opposite sides of the bottle. And that basically completes the process.